Welcome, everybody, to the PhDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
And this is Joe Bunn.
And we have a very special guest with us this week. Before we introduce you, though, Eric, I just want to say two quick things. You mind? We'll give you a proper introduction in a second. So, first of all, if any of our listeners have not listened to the last two episodes, I encourage you to do that. Ryan Oettinger gave out some amazing information, so much so that literally while we were interviewing him, Joe and I were texting back and forth saying, hey, let's make this 2 episodes. I have a feeling some people might not have listened to it because the title was that it was about drive-up DJing, and some of our listeners might have said, that's not something I'm interested in, so you might have skipped it. Go back and I've re-listened to both of those episodes. Ryan shared tons of great marketing, branding, just really good information. So even if you have no interest in drive-up DJing, I encourage you to go back and listen to those 2 episodes.
Smart guy. Where'd he go to school, Mike? Cornell or somewhere like that?
One of those Ivy League colleges that I could never have gotten into, so I've already forgotten it. Also, yesterday, so 2 days from when this podcast drops, my man Joe Bunn dropped a brand new Christmas song, which I think Mariah Carey is shaking in her boots right now because, she goes to #1 every year around this time of year. And I think Mariah's got some, she's got some competition this year.
I'm right on her heels.
Awesome job. So if you haven't listened to that yet or found it, seek out Joe Bunn's socials, which are not hard to find.
That's right.
And you will hear the song of the year.
The 2020 edition of the 12 Days of Christmas.
I love it. Don't say anything more. Let our listeners out. It's great. You will enjoy it. And if you can, watch the video because yours truly makes a few cameos.
Yes, he does. Mike made the video.
Yeah, I was watching it yesterday going, you didn't ask my permission. I think you owe me something. I think if you make millions off of this, you're going to owe me
the waivers in your inbox. You just didn't sign it.
Awesome. All right. So let's introduce Eric.
All right. Jeez,
sorry. That's like when you're having dinner with somebody and you ask them a question just as they're taking a bite. So tell me about your day.
But by the way, before you introduce me, I noticed listening to a lot of you guys' podcasts, Mike always throws it to Joe, and Joe's always taking a sip of something.
I do it on purpose. Yeah,
so classic.
I do it on purpose.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have our friend Eric Catalano. Is it Lano or Lano? Did I clarify?
You got it correct. Catalano.
I can't. It's the Southern in me is not allowing
this
justice.
Is like me with Nevada and Nevada.
Oh, I still messed that one up too. Maybe that's not even a redneck thing. But Eric's here with us today. We're going to have a little bit of a serious talk leading up to the holidays to close out the year because, it can't always be fun and games. And so we're going to talk a little bit about his career today, and then some things he's been through, and make a move towards positivity going into next year. And Mike and I thought this was a subject we needed to tackle. But before we get too deep into that, I want to talk about a couple of career highlights or life lights, if you will, Eric. So you mentioned it earlier, right before we went live, about something you said about shooting or something. And Mike and I both were like, what? And he goes, it's a military term. So you were in the Army, correct?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what years was that? Where were you stationed? What did you do? Did you have to, serve overseas? Like, we want to hear a little bit about.
And I guess we obligatorily need to say thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for your service.
Has that become cliche nowadays?
Any veteran, please. Yeah. And we genuinely thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah. So I got in 2006. I actually I got in late because most guys get in when they're like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And I tried to, but I dropped out of high school. Hence, now I'm a DJ because it was the only other career I could figure out how to do.
Hey, wait, we had an Ivy Leaguer on last
that's right.
week,
we went from.
I'm not saying you can't. And matter of fact, I went to
us.
Listen, when I went to DJ school, I went to Dubspot in New York City, and DJ Shifty was a Harvard graduate.
Wow.
And I'm like, and you're spinning music. Okay. That's all right. So what's cool is
I bet your parents are really thrilled with that.
But so I joined in 2006. I was 22 years old. After recruiter told me no, my whole family had served. I just wanted to serve. So finally I got a recruiter who was willing to work with me, because when you drop out of high school, they got to send you to get your GED, or you got to get on your own. I was also a little overweight, kind of like I am now. So, recruiters like those easy people, the easy numbers, the ones that are just sign your name and let's go ahead and ship you off. You got to really find a good recruiter that's willing to work with you. So I joined in 2006. I did 6 years in the Army National Guard here in New York. I got to go to Germany. I didn't deploy. I was on a schedule for deployment for Afghanistan. I blew out my knee real bad and tore my ACL during mobilization. And believe it or not, it's actually, one of the big regrets I have and guilt I feel in life because of the fact that all my buddies came back kind of messed up in the head, where it was supposed to be like a cakewalk deployment. So I wasn't thinking nothing of it when they took me off the deployment, because I was like, all right, well, it's going to be a cakewalk. They're just going to go get their patch. No big deal. And when they came back, half of them end up getting kicked out of the military, a lot of them, because with their PTSD, their drinking became out of control, and they kind of, a lot of people spiraled. So I wish I was there with them, but maybe it was a blessing in disguise, because I don't think I'd have the personality I have today, had I went over there. I mean, none of my squad came back the same, and so I carry that guilt, but it's definitely, maybe a blessing in disguise. Maybe somebody higher above had different ideas for me.
Sure.
And I got out in 2012.
So 6 years. So let's talk about then DJing. Like, where does that fall in line? Does that not start till 2012, or is that somewhere, during, were you rocking the bass, or like where does the DJing start in that era?
So it actually starts by accident. I was still in the military at the time. I was at a Halloween party. Joe, I know you love Halloween, by the way.
I do love Halloween.
I was at a Halloween party. I'm drunk, I'm just having fun, but it's a private Halloween party, and the bar owner, he's basically running the karaoke machine, which I love singing karaoke. He's doing the food because it was for his staff and close friends. He's running the bar, and I just got the bright drunk idea. I was like, if I convince him to let me run the karaoke for the night, I can sing as many songs as I want. Right. So I did that. Yeah. So I did that. I probably sang a bunch of drunk songs. He calls me the next day and says, listen, you did pretty good. How does $50 a night and all you could drink sound? I go, you had me at all you could drink. And
say $50.
Yeah. And come to find out, I learned this years down the road, because I'm actually very good friends with the guy I replaced. He was paying that guy $300 a night, and it saved him money, or so he thought. Because let me tell you, I can drink, and I'm sure we're going to get into that.
Right.
So what happened? Long story short, so I don't take up all the time on this, but I ended up getting the chills when I played some music in between singers one day, right? Because I got people dancing, and the hair on my arm stood up, and I was like,
wow,
oh, this is different. Okay, and I'm still in the military at the time. I was actually on active orders, so I had a full-time gig with the New York National Guard, and I ended up just deciding, I said, I got to do, this is what I want to do right here. And I was, at this point, I was 24 years old. I was like, I'm a little old to start DJing, I thought, because I've always heard of guys starting when they were younger. So I was like, I'll just go to DJ school in New York City. So I drove down to the city, dub spot twice a week, and learned how to DJ as quick as I could, and the rest is history.
Dang.
That's a great story about getting the hairs on the arm standing up. That is so cool.
Still get that feeling every once in a while.
Yeah. I wish I had it more often.
I wish I had it more often. Yeah.
So Eric had actually reached out to me. I've known Eric from the DJ Expo, and Eric and I are also co-Howard Stern fans. So
Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
I know if you hear some weird references, Joe, if one of us says 9 years or
trust me, I listened long enough to pick up that.
I told you not to be stupid, you moron. If you hear these like weird Howard Stern references, that's it.
0.0.
Well, that's actually an Animal House reference.
Yeah, I know it is. They sample it in there.
Yeah. So Eric had reached out to me. Let's be blunt. You basically hit rock bottom earlier in the year, and realize you're an alcoholic, right? Is it?
Hold on, T.O. This year?
This year.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't.
Eric, do I have the timeline correct?
Actually, no. If you remember, Mike, you actually came up here when I was still working for Cool Cat, and I tried quitting drinking. So I had realized I was an alcoholic a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And tried a few times trying to quit, but never hit that rock bottom. So therefore, I just, I'd quit.
The
for like
video
30 days.
that you have, and by the way, we are not going to get too much into Eric's specific rock bottom. If you want to learn about that, Eric has started a YouTube channel called Sober DJ, where he is blatantly and painfully, honest about his troubles. You are welcome to look that up. You are welcome to watch some video. And with the video of you stumbling and falling down that you shared, is that from earlier this year?
That is the last day I had a drink.
Okay. And that was March earlier this year?
No, that was actually 118 days ago.
Oh, okay. So that was
August 20th.
So first of all, congratulations on, I know 100 was a big marker and now you're up to 118. That's phenomenal. Congratulations. Awesome. So
thank you.
If anybody wants to learn specifically about Eric's journey, look up Sober DJ, follow him on YouTube. I am kind of more interested because you reached out to me and said, I think it's a great message for your listeners to be aware of. Addiction can be harmful in our industry, everything else. I have a layman's understanding of addiction. So maybe you can help me first and foremost. The first day that you had a drink, were you destined to become an alcoholic, or could you have managed alcohol in your life and have been and I don't even know if this is a term, casual drinker, day-to-day drinker? Could you have managed alcohol, or was there something in your DNA, an addictive personality that just from the day alcohol hit your lips were you destined to hit rock bottom? Do you know the answer to that question?
I've thought a lot about it, and I don't know if I 100% have the answer, but I do believe this was going to happen some way or another. I don't think I noticed it when I had the first drink, but there were signs early on. But when everything's manageable, you don't think too much of it. You don't put too much stock into it, and you don't really think about it until it's too late, and then you can't stop.
When you say manageable, so for a while, there's a term people use called functioning alcoholic, and I don't even know if that's accepted in the world of addiction. Like, I don't know if people just say that's bullshit, it doesn't exist. Were you a functioning alcoholic for a while?
100% functioning alcoholic while I was in the military, functioning alcoholic as a DJ, in life, everywhere. I was able to manage it pretty well up until 3 years ago, I think.
Right, because you've had a successful career as a DJ. You competed in DJ of the Year a couple years ago, if I remember correctly, and you did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I've done 3 years.
Multiple times. Okay. Yeah. So you're a popular performer. You're a great DJ. It's not like you wound up homeless in the gutter somewhere.
No.
You may have, you may have if you didn't have the support system around you, which we'll get to in a second. But so you were a functioning alcoholic until you hit rock bottom and realized. So you said something about signs. What were the signs that you missed them in real life, but looking back, what could you have said? At what point could you have said, I need to stop this so that I don't hit rock bottom?
Yeah, at the point when I started waking up and needing a drink, because if I didn't, I would start to shake, sweat by 2:00. Like you started actually feeling the withdrawing effects. And once you start feeling those, it's like, ooh, maybe I should stop this. But again, I wasn't educated enough into it. So I was just like, I know how to fix this. I'm just hungover. This just because of last night. So I'd have a couple drinks, hair of the dog, as we always say. And come to find out, all I was really doing was giving my body what it wanted at the time, which was the alcohol, because I was going through withdrawal every day.
So is that one of the definitions of addiction that because I mean, listen, I consider myself a casual drinker. I'll have a couple cocktails at night. I certainly don't wake up in the morning needing it or wanting it or needing it to take the edge off of something or whatever. But is that one of the is there a clinical definition of addiction and alcoholism? Is that one of the signs? So
the clinical definition, believe it or not, is more people are alcoholics than they realize. If you drink to feel a buzz, you're technically an alcoholic. So even if you're casually like, well, I only drink once a month, but when I do, I have fun and I get loose. If you actually drink to feel the effects, they classify you as an alcoholic according to
as opposed to drinking for what? The flavor?
I was about to say, why did they make it in the first place?
Listen, I swear
you
to
didn't
God,
write the definition. I understand.
Yeah, no.
Asking. Yeah, no. I swear to God, I said this to my counselor. My counselor goes, I went to an alcohol counselor years ago, and I go, wait, hold on. I go, do you drink alcohol? He goes, no. I go, or he goes, yes. I go, are you an alcoholic? He goes, no. I can have my 1 or 2 and I'm okay. I go, well, you're a freaking idiot. He goes, why is that? I go, because you pay $12 for a drink here in New York. I go, you're spending $24 to drink a soda. What are you doing? Like, why would you spend all that money on alcohol if you're not trying to get drunk? Right. Exactly.
Well, so go back to that word buzzed. I wonder if that's where the confusion comes in, because listen, based on that definition, I'm an alcoholic. There are times where I come home for especially a stressful day or late night gig where I'm a little stressed out. And yes, I like that cocktail, not just for the flavor of it, because I know it'll take my edge off. And if you want to call that a buzz, and now if you want to say, well, one of the definitions is you drink to get that buzz, then I guess I'm an alcoholic. I don't want to admit it. And I certainly don't think I'll ever wind up passed out like you did in that video that I saw. I hope not. But so that is a clinical definition, that you seek out the mind numbing effects of alcohol basically, or drugs.
Yeah. And it's a little more complex, but essentially that you're drinking not for the social aspect of it or to have one or two, but you're going for the effects of the alcohol, and you're not content with just having that one beer. Like I know people that can literally just have a beer at dinner, and they probably don't even get a buzz, or maybe feel something just because you don't drink that often. They wouldn't consider that an alcoholic. But if you're going to try to get that buzz, that feeling, that high, they'd consider you clinically as an alcoholic, from what I've been told.
So you mentioned the warning signs of getting up and basically needing a drink to fulfill that. Could you at that point have realized, I have a problem, I need to stop? And could you have avoided hitting that rock bottom? Or did you have to hit rock bottom to realize it was a real problem?
I had to hit rock bottom. And some would argue I hit it before then. But rock bottom is whatever it is to you. You know what I mean? It's your rock bottom. That's why everybody's rock bottom is different. Seeing those signs, when I saw them, and when I started kind of realizing, like, all right, this is getting a little out of control, but I'm gonna try to manage it the best I can. Kind of have controlled chaos. At that point for me, it was actually too late to stop. Without seeking out help, because a lot of people don't know this, but if you're an alcoholic, it's the only drug or drink or whatever. It's the only thing that withdrawing from it can kill you. Like if you're a heroin addict, you cannot die. They look like they're going to die for 2 weeks, but they will not die. If you take other substances, cocaine, all these other different things, you go through withdrawal, you will not die. But with alcohol, that's why they have detox centers for alcoholics in hospitals, because you have to be monitored, because you can have a seizure and literally die. And it's the only form of addiction that you can die from, withdrawing, if you just try to stay at home and withdraw.
So in other words, if we have a listener right now who's listening to you and saying, oh shit, I have that same scenario. I need to have a drink by noon to and they feel like it's a hair of the dog, but really they need to fulfill that. You're saying to them, don't just stop cold turkey. Go seek help?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to a detox facility. You don't necessarily have to go to rehab, but detox where, lasts anywhere from a couple days up to, I was in detox for 10 days, where they actually give you medication. They're watching your vitals. They give you an anti-seizure medication, because that's the big thing that can happen. It's actually very common for alcoholics to have seizures during withdrawal. So yeah, I 100% get the help. And on top of that, it's more comfortable. I've tried to give up drinking before. I never had the seizures, thank God. I didn't have any craziness like that happen to me, but it is very uncomfortable when your house is set to 55 degrees because you can't stop sweating, and you're, butt naked in bed, and you're like, I'm sweating. I can't control this. It's the worst feeling in the world. And when I finally decided, that I wanted to get this right, and I went to detox, the medication they gave me, I was just like, oh, I feel good. And within 2 days, I was feeling great,
Wow. Yeah, your wife is the fact that she has stuck with you through this. You owe her big time. I hope you know that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you reached out to me, you said that you thought this is a message that our listeners really need to hear. Do you think the environment that we work in can foster alcoholism or addiction more than others? Like, are we more susceptible to it than an accountant or some other occupation?
Yeah, I truly believe we are. And here's why. So, and not just DJs, but people in the nightlife industry. Remember, we're working with servers, we're working with, bartenders and all these other things. And two things I've noticed when I look back at how this all happened, for me over my life was, especially for DJs. One, for whatever reason, it's socially acceptable for us to drink. Maybe not necessarily when we're doing our weddings, but if you're at the club or the bar, matter of fact, they encourage it. I actually had a bar owner one time tell me, literally, he goes, because I wasn't drinking one night. He goes, "Oh, you're not right." He goes, "Oh, let me get you a drink. I need drunk Eric here." And that put in my mind, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm only good if I'm drinking because I'm loose. Like I'm where I need to be."
You're not right, he said. Wow.
Yeah, literally. And I think why it's more accessible for people like us is because we're around it nonstop. And then again, it's the name. I mean, I know a lot of us don't drink at weddings. I started to towards the end, but you ever just go get a drink while you're at an event? Nobody says nothing. You're the DJ. But if you're like the photographer or something else, they probably be like, "Hey, whoa, what are you doing?" But the DJ, it's like, "Oh, you're the DJ. Of course, you can have whatever the hell you want."
Well,
Matter of fact, I'll make it a double.
I have bridal party members, brides and grooms often come over and say, "Hey, can I get you a drink?" I mean, I remember walking into a room to line up the bridal party once. So right before introductions, lining up the bridal party, and they're all about to do a shot, and the groom's like, "Come on, do a shot with us." And I'm like, "I'm about to introduce you. I'm about to say your name. I'd like to do that." Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." But so yeah, I mean, we have a no drinking policy, but sure, the temptation of it is there all the time, no doubt.
And when I was at Cool Cat for all those years, we had a no drinking policy there. Well, when I left, I started my own company. I'm like, that policy's gone.
I can make my own policy.
Let's start the rule book.
Yeah.
Well, let me just jump in here real quick, Mike. It's funny that it's not funny. It's interesting this topic comes up now because, and I don't remember which group it was in, and often I just kind of scan the comments and move on. But somebody posted it, is it okay to drink at events type thread? It comes up probably once a quarter in one of the DJ groups. And it is unbelievable, the divisiveness in the comments.
Are we talking at private parties?
Absolutely. Some people are like, yeah, I'll have, a couple glasses of wine. Well, I'm offered, I'll take it. It was everything from, me, I'm like hard no. And then other people were like, what Joe said, and then there's other people like, well, I do what I want. The early Eric Catalano, it was so divisive. I wish I had kind of taken some screenshots, but it was before we, talked about having this subject on. But it goes back to Eric's point. You know what I mean? It is a topic that needs to be tackled or addressed because we are in a very alcohol friendly environment always, you know what I mean, especially for people like the three of us that have been doing this for so long. We grew up, Mike was at Star when he was early 20s, Mike, late teens. I was doing bars before I was legally allowed to be in them,
I was taught early on, order something like a gin and tonic because it looks like a Sprite. So,
yes.
I would have a gin and tonic sitting by me because it didn't look like an obvious drink. And don't put fruit in it because then, you know what I mean? Like, don't put the lime in it because then it looks like a drink.
Right.
Yeah, and I think at Star, we basically had a nudge, wink, wink, no drinking policy. It was like, we're officially saying it, but we're not going to enforce it. But yeah, I mean, at Elite, and fortunately, Eric, we must have different vendors in our area. Most of the banquet halls by us would not allow. If I walked up and asked for a drink, they'd go, "You're working tonight, dude." So most of our banquet halls wouldn't serve us if we wanted it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's for my market, and I don't know about other markets. I'll just speak on mine. Upstate New York, is known for their drinking. There was always that joke, and I'm sure they use this joke in other parts of the country too. But it's always like, want to see something cool? Watch this, hold my beer while you're driving. You know what I mean? It's a horrible joke, but upstate New Yorkers, they're just it's heavy drinking. And I'm talking. I won't put no names out there of the venues, but I'm talking top venues in the area. And maybe it's also because I built good relationships and I never screwed up. Maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, and it got to the point where I wouldn't be drinking a lot. That's how bad it got. I wouldn't be going up to the bar 10 times a night. I would have a 12 rack sitting in my trailer. I go outside really quick, pound 2 beers in like 30 seconds, come back in, order a drink, and then go to work. And somehow, I don't know how, by the grace of God, I guess, nobody ever really noticed. People, when I came out with all this, a lot of people were like, I knew you drank, but I didn't know it was like this. Oh my God, you know?
And it's, I mean, you know, it's also your upbringing. I never really got into drinking at all. You know, my parents are heavy drinkers. Everybody in Wilson County, where I'm from, is a heavy. I've said many times, there's only two types of people that come from Wilson County: assholes and alcoholics. And I'm an asshole. So, and I don't know. I guess I never wanted to act like that, you know. So I skipped it. I never drank in high school. I never drank in college. Even when I pledged a fraternity, I think somebody called up and said, this guy wants to be in your fraternity, but he's not going to do the hazing shit. I mean, I was literally like, they would make me drink like LaCroix, which is probably even worse throwing up on LaCroix than beer. You know, went all through the clubs and things. And so what was interesting about that chapter of my life, and even now, if I still played in bars, which I don't, but I did up through my 30s, people would come up and be like, can I, what'd they say? Can I get you a drink? I'd be like, no. And they go, you got any blow? And I'd be like, I just told you, I'm not even drinking. How did I skip all the way? How did you hyper jump to I'm a blow dealer or a purveyor of blow? I'm like, I don't. That's a big. There seems like a big window between those two gateways there. But anyway,
that still happens to this day, by the way, in the bar. I don't know when the last time you were in a bar working as a DJ was, but I'm telling you, still happens. I'm like, dude, does it say drug dealer on me? Somewhere, I'm literally spitting. I'm playing music for you right now.
Got any blow? Nope. I got some music. All right. So tell us, you know, since you stopped drinking, about your health, good, bad. You've noticed some other things. Like kind of walk us through the last, you know, 118
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I stopped drinking, and within the first few days, well, obviously I was in detox, so that helped kind of that. So that was kind of almost like I was kind of leveled off, because they gave me a whole cocktail full of drugs, things to help with the mood, all the craziness, right?
Sure.
So once I got out of there 10 days later, and I didn't have the meds no more, first my body had to level out. I was like so like over energized, kind of like how when I just started this water challenge that I'm doing on my channel right now, where I'm only drinking water. And I was so like, my energy was way up here, and I had to kind of balance back out. My body took like about 3 or 4 days to balance back out. And then once it did, I kind of felt like myself again. I actually, even as crazy as this sounds, felt like myself as if when I was drinking, if that makes sense. Like my personality came back. Like people actually said, oh, like I actually had people actually ask me, are you drinking again? I'm like, no, not drinking. I'm just back. I'm leveled out. My body's good. You know, I've lost weight. That has actually been more recently, because at first I actually gained weight right away, because my doctor said my body was craving sugars because of the alcohol I drank. I drank Captain Coke. That was my poison. So apparently I was eating a lot of sugary things. And when I look back, I literally just pulled cookie dough out of the freezer and eat. I wouldn't even cook the cookies. I'm like, I'm just gonna eat them like this, you know?
He dispelled that myth. He dispelled the urban legend. You can't eat raw cookie dough, folks. He's still alive.
100%. You can eat as many of them as you want.
Yeah.
And as time went on, so I still had urges every now and then, maybe for the first 30 days. And I talked about that. There was one video I did. I think it was about 15, 16 days sober, something like that, where I rushed to an AA meeting, because the urges I was having to drink were like, it was either a meeting or go back to drinking. And I did not want to go back to drinking. So I went to the meeting, and that 1 hour, I didn't even talk in that group, just that 1 hour of sitting there, calming down and letting that urge pass. Cause that's all it is. It's an urge. You let it pass, and it goes away. And I felt good. And I made a video afterwards about it. And now at 118 days, I mean, I feel great. I wake up every day. For the past 2 months, I've been waking up every day at 5:30 in the morning.
Jeez.
Right. Yeah, and I still stay up our normal DJ hours. I only require now like 5 hours of sleep a night, where before it was no less than 8 to 10. That was, and if I got 12, I was happier, you know, when I was drinking. But now, health wise, energy wise, my brain's actually starting to work again. It's repairing itself. You know, I got lucky. I didn't give myself what they call beer brain, or there's some other funny term for it, but
Dane Bramage is the technical term. Dane Bramage.
And it took me a second to get that guy now. Okay. So, everything's just starting to come back, and I'm like firing on all cylinders again. And in just a short amount of time, so much good has happened. That's the other thing I can't stress enough. Like, the health is good. My pancreas, because I ended up getting pancreatitis a few times. I had to go to the hospital. That was kind of the big reason why I ended the drinking. But I just, health-wise, I feel great. Career-wise is unbelievable right now. Everything's just going good.
Well, Eric, I appreciate you coming on, man. Your story it's a harrowing one, but it's also very important. And if any of our listeners are listening to this and struggling with it and wondering, I encourage you to seek help and also watch Eric's videos. I'm telling you,
reach out to him. I'm sure
That is one thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Joe.
No,
that's one thing. I'll never out anybody. I didn't realize how bad it was in our industry until I started posting these videos, and people started messaging me and reaching out and telling me what they've been going through. And these are big name people, and I was just like, oh my God, it wasn't just me. It literally is heavy in our industry, the alcoholism or drug abuse and all the craziness and chaos that goes on. Behind the scenes, So, if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on YouTube or on any of my social medias, and you want to chat. Again, I'm still new to sobriety, but I'll tell you what worked for me and how I did it. And, I'm always there.
And I think one of the things you said that I'd like to just go back and highlight, you said your personality is back. And I think that's critical, because I think some people might think if I quit drinking, I'm no longer going to be the fun party guy. And so therefore my career might tank. You don't need the drugs or the alcohol to be that personality. Like Eric said, took him a couple weeks, but his personality is back now, to the point where some people think you're back to drinking. You're not. Your brain's right. Let's face it, you're an outgoing, fun personality guy anyway. You didn't need the alcohol to get you to that point. But I wonder how many people have convinced themselves of that.
I did. There was a point in my life where I was like, if I give this up, am I going to be?
I'm gonna have to find a new career.
I mean, listen, could I go in front of 200 people every weekend, 2-3 times a weekend, and entertain everybody with the nerves? And I will be honest with you, I don't sugarcoat nothing. You are going to have to do a few events where you're a little uncomfortable, but go back to your basics. Like, okay, hey, I'll play this one safe today. Maybe it won't be my best gig or best wedding ever, but it's going to be a good wedding. I know how to DJ. I know how to talk on the microphone, and your personality will come back. I promise you, it just will. Once you don't got to rely on that crutch no more.
Eric, let me throw in one last thing before we wrap this thing. So just real quick on the AA thing, how often do you go to that? I mean, is that an important part of getting sober for you or anybody?
For me, yeah, so everybody's sobriety is different. Some things work differently for others, but for me, I do at least 1 to 2 AA meetings a week. But I'm also, I actually right now am in a alcohol treatment program. So I do groups 5 days a week. Actually, normally I do them from 9 to 10:30, but they actually just last week, because they slowly reduce you. I just last week got reduced from 5 days a week down to 3 now.
Okay, gotcha. Just curious about that part of the whole recovery.
And that's huge. Yeah, definitely. If you're going to go into recovery, go to a treatment facility, just because you don't even have to go. They don't have, you don't got to go to 28 days somewhere. Sure. Because a big fear I had was, hey, I got a schedule. I got gigs. Yeah. That's like 16 gigs for me.
Sure.
They got ones where you can actually go, during the day, Monday through Friday. It's called intensive outpatient. You won't have to mess up your gigs, and you start learning the tools and you understand it more, because that was the thing. I never understood it in the past. And now that I understand it, I understand the warning signs. I understand why I was doing a lot of the things that I did. You start to educate yourself more about the alcoholism. It's easier to stay away from the alcohol.
Man, good stuff.
Eric, I honor your honesty.
Yeah, man.
And I'm rooting for you, man.
Me too.
I know from hearing other people, it's not always going to be an easy struggle. Like you've already witnessed, you had those urges and you were smart enough to go to a meeting. So, man, I'm rooting for you. I'm going to keep watching your channel, and
thank you.
And I hope you make 218 days and 318 days and so on and so on. I hope you get to the point where you're checking off years. I've been 8 years sober, 10 years sober. So thank you so much for coming on.
Definitely. Thank you guys for having me. And by the way, Joe, I do want to say I almost wore my Crate Hackers t-shirt for you, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna rock the Sober.
No, rock the Sober DJ. Sober DJ merch. I love it, man. I love it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we have our Christmas episode after this one next week, re-airing our favorite songs. So you've got that looking forward to, and happy holidays, everybody. We certainly appreciate y'all listening for another year. Mike, anything you want to add?
No, that's it. Thank you, Eric. And yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you're celebrating the next couple of weeks. Enjoy it. Joe and I have one more show. We'll sneak it in at the end of the year. But like Joe said, next week, enjoy our repeat version of our favorite Christmas songs.
Right on.
Ciao.